It began on a rainy October morning. The kind of morning where the sky feels too low, like it's pressing down on the world with all the weight of secrets not yet told. The Weller family hadn't spoken to each other in months. Not since the funeral. Not since the will. "He left us the house?" Annie had said, her voice tight over the phone. "He gave us the house," murmured Michael. "Not out of love. Out of punishment." They hadn't set foot in it for 20 years. The old estate in Marlowe's Hollow was a Victorian relic surrounded by dead trees, with windows like watching eyes and a roof that sagged like it was tired of keeping secrets. Annie, Michael, and their youngest brother, Theo, arrived with luggage, old resentment, and questions they didn't want answers to. But there was one thing they all noticed. The locked door on the second floor. No key. No mention in the will. No memory of it from childhood. "Did you ever go in there?" Theo asked. Michael shook his head. "I don't even remember it existing." And yet somehow, it felt like it had always been there waiting. That night, the door creaked. Not open. Just like it was listening. The house didn't sleep that night. Neither did the Wellers. Rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers. The wind moaned through the eaves, whispering in a voice that sounded almost human. Theo lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his childhood bedroom, now coated in dust and shadow. His mind was full of questions he couldn't ask, and memories he couldn't trust. Down the hallway, the locked door creaked again. He sat up, listened. There it was. A soft knock. Once. Then silence. He held his breath. Was it the wind? The old bones of the house settling? Or was it something else? In the morning, Michael stood at the second-floor landing, staring at the door. "It's warmer here," he said. "Feel it." Annie approached and touched the wall. He was right. The air felt heavy, almost humid, like something breathing behind it. "There's no room on the floor plan," Annie whispered. "I checked last night. This door shouldn't exist." Theo joined them. "Then where does it lead?" They didn't answer. Instead, Michael tried the handle again. It was still locked, solid, cold, unmoving. Not rusted shut. Just held by something that didn't want to let go. Annie noticed something new. Scratches. Long, deep scratches along the frame, like fingernails trying to claw their way out. She stepped back. "Okay. No. Nope. We're not opening that door." Michael looked at her. "What if it opens itself?" They all went quiet. That evening, they found the attic door ajar. None of them had been up there yet. But inside, lit by the dying sun through the cracked window, they found something odd. A photo. Black and white. Old. Faded. Their grandfather. Their mother. And a woman none of them recognized, standing just behind, with a hand on their mother's shoulder, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. On the back of the photo was a single line written in ink. "She watches through the keyhole." That night, Theo heard the knock again. But this time it wasn't from the door. It was from inside his room. Theo froze in place. The knock came again. Twice. Soft, deliberate. He reached over and flicked on the lamp beside his bed. Nothing. Just the flickering light, casting uneasy shadows on the walls. He stood up and scanned the room. The door was closed. The window latched. Closet, open, empty. Nothing was out of place. But something felt wrong. As if someone had just been in the room, and left seconds before he turned on the light. He looked around one last time. And then his eyes landed on the photo. It had moved. He'd left it in the attic. But now it sat on his nightstand. The same black and white picture of their grandfather, their mother, and the strange woman. Only now, the woman's face was scratched out. Deeply. As if done by something furious. Morning brought no comfort. Theo showed the photo to Annie and Michael. Neither could explain how it got to his room. "I locked the attic after we left," Michael insisted. Annie frowned. "Did you sleepwalk?" "I don't sleepwalk, Annie. I barely sleep in this place." Michael stared at the photo, his eyes narrowing. "We need to find out who she is," he said. "If she's in this photo, she's part of the family. Or the house." Theo looked at the scratched-out face. "Or the reason the door is locked." They spent the day going through their grandfather's study. Old journals, letters, deeds. Nothing useful, until Michael opened the desk's false bottom. Inside was a single envelope. Yellowed, sealed with red wax, marked only with a strange symbol. An eye inside a keyhole. He broke the seal and read silently. His face changed. "What is it?" Annie asked. Michael didn't answer at first. Then he passed the letter to her. Annie read aloud. "To those who find this, the door must never be opened. She is bound behind it, but only just. Every generation she calls, whispers, promises. The house hears her and remembers. We locked it once, but locks rust, and memory fades. Burn this letter. Forget this place, or she will find you too. Aile hueler. Teo esalet? Great. So we inherited a house and a curse." Michael sat back, thoughtful. "We're not leaving. Not yet." Annie looked at him like he was crazy. "We just read a warning from a dead man telling us to leave, Michael." Michael stood up. "That letter is 70 years old. Maybe it's superstition. Maybe it's not." They all turned toward the hallway. The door had opened. Just a crack. Just enough to see the darkness beyond it. And the faint glint of an eye. Watching. The crack in the door was so slight, it could have been a trick of the light. But they all saw it. The keyhole gleamed faintly, and just beyond, the unmistakable shimmer of an eye. Unblinking. Watching. Then it vanished. The door groaned and closed itself. Slowly. Quietly. Like it had never opened at all. None of them moved for several seconds. Finally, Annie broke the silence. "We're leaving. Tonight. I'll sleep in the car if I have to." Michael stepped closer to the door. "She's testing us." "She?" Theo asked. "The woman in the picture. The one they locked behind the door." Annie stared at him. "You're talking like this is normal." "I'm talking like we're in danger." Later that night, Theo couldn't sleep again. This time not because of a knock, but a whisper. It was low, almost soothing. He sat up and looked around. No one was there. He got out of bed and followed the sound down the hall. It was coming from behind the locked door. Except, the door wasn't locked anymore. It was open. Just a few inches. He leaned closer. "Theo," the whisper called. He jumped back. "Annie? Michael?" No response. Just that voice. "Tang. Don't be afraid." He slammed the door shut and bolted it. The lock clicked, even though no one remembered installing a lock. The house had added it. In the morning, they all sat at the kitchen table, pale and quiet. Theo told them what happened. Annie went pale. "She knows your name now." Michael rubbed his temples. "This house, it's alive. It remembers everything. And it feeds on us." "Feeds?" Annie asked. "On emotion. Fear. Regret. Memory." Theo's eyes widened. "That's why she whispers. That's why she's trying to get in our heads." Annie pulled out her phone. "I'm calling a priest. Or a historian. Or an exorcist. I don't care." But the phone was dead. No signal. None of theirs had a signal anymore. The landline was static. The car wouldn't start. They were trapped. Later that day, Michael returned to the study. He searched deeper in the journals. At the back of one, scrawled in different handwriting, was another entry. She was not born. She was brought. From the lake. From the dark. She is not family. She is not human. She wears our memories like a mask. As he read the final line, the lights flickered. And down the hall, the door creaked open again. The door didn't open all the way. Just enough to invite. Just enough to taunt. Michael stood at the end of the hallway, his breath shallow, heart hammering. He didn't dare move closer. Not this time. Instead, he whispered, "What do you want?" There was silence. Then a reply, low and distorted. "Home." He stepped back. The door closed again. Not slowly this time, but fast, as if yanked shut by invisible hands. In the kitchen, Annie found something strange. The photo from the attic had changed again. The scratched-out woman was back. But now she was closer. Standing in the front. Where their mother used to be. And their mother? Gone from the picture entirely. Annie dropped it. Michael rushed in. "What happened?" She pointed. "She's replacing us." That night they stayed together. All three in the living room. Lights on. Fire burning. No one said it out loud, but they all felt the same thing. If one of them was alone, the door would open wider. Theo tried to distract himself, flipping through old books from the shelves. One in particular caught his eye, bound in cracked leather, no title. Inside, pages and pages of handwritten memories. Names. Dates. Emotions. May 12th. I felt her breathe through the walls. June 3rd, she appeared in the mirror. Not my face anymore. July 10th, I forgot my name. She gave me another one. Theo turned to the last page. It was blank. Until words began to write themselves. In real time. July 18th, he's reading this now. Theo gasped and dropped the book. Annie grabbed his arm. What did you see? Before he could answer, the fireplace roared. Not with flame, but with screams. Human. Dozens of them. Twisting in the smoke. Faces appeared in the flames, familiar ones. Their parents. Their grandparents. All screaming. All reaching out. Then gone. They didn't sleep. By dawn, something had changed. The hallway felt longer. The shadows thicker. And the door? It was wide open. Inside, nothing but black. And in the center, a mirror. An ornate oval frame with no reflection. Just a swirling void of memory and voice. Annie stepped forward, as if in a trance. Theo tried to stop her. But the mirror spoke. Annie. She turned. And in the mirror's surface, she saw her mother smiling. Alive. Calling her home. Annie froze. Her mother's image smiled gently from the mirror's swirling depths. Come in, sweetheart, the voice said. Warm. Familiar. Impossible. Michael grabbed Annie's shoulder. That's not her. Annie's eyes were glassy, hypnotized. She looks happy. Theo stepped forward. It's not her. It's using your memory. The mirror shimmered. The image of their mother morphed slowly at first. The features stayed the same, but something behind the eyes changed. The warmth drained away. She didn't blink. Didn't move. Then she smiled wider. Too wide. The mouth stretched unnaturally, exposing black gums and jagged, shattered teeth. Annie stumbled back, breaking the trance. The mirror cracked. Not shattered. Cracked, like a living thing wincing from pain. And the door slammed shut, trapping the mirror, and its occupant, once again. Back in the living room, the family sat in stunned silence. Michael poured whiskey into coffee mugs. No one refused. What is this? Annie whispered. What kind of nightmare did we inherit? Theo rubbed his forehead. The mirror doesn't show reality. It shows what we want, and what we fear. Michael nodded. And she's inside it. That woman. That thing. She uses our memories to lure us in. She's not a ghost, Theo said. She's older than that. Later, in the basement, they discovered the truth. Behind old crates and broken furniture, Theo found a door sealed with boards and iron nails. They pried it open. Inside was a shrine. Dozens of burned candles. Rotting books. A dried-up bowl filled with ash. And on the far wall, the symbol from the letter. An eye within a keyhole, carved deep into the stone. Beneath it, an inscription in Latin. Memoria claudit, oblivio aperit. Memory closes. Forgetting opens. Michael stared at it. This wasn't a house. It was a prison. Theo picked up one of the old books and flipped through the pages. He found a drawing, the mirror, the door, and a woman without a face. Annie read aloud from the page. The faceless wife. She wears what we forget. She feeds on what we remember. Suddenly the air grew cold. From upstairs, the sound of something breaking. Then footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. And getting closer. They raced up the stairs, but the house was different now. The hallways didn't match. Doors led to the wrong rooms. Time bent. And the mirror? It was no longer in the locked room. It was in the foyer. Waiting. And this time, they could see all three of them in it. But the reflections weren't mimicking their movements. They were watching them. Smiling. As if they knew how it all ends. The foyer was colder than the rest of the house. As if the shadows themselves gathered there. The mirror's glass shimmered like liquid, reflecting their faces. But something was wrong. Their reflections didn't move in sync. Michael's reflection smiled, even though he wasn't. Annie's reflection reached out a hand, but Annie herself stayed frozen. Theo's reflection blinked slowly, then mouthed words he couldn't hear. Suddenly, the mirror pulsed, sending ripples across its surface. A voice emerged, soft, layered, almost hypnotic. "Come home." The three siblings stepped back instinctively. Michael grabbed a nearby candlestick as a weapon. Annie whispered, "It's trying to trap us." Theo swallowed hard. Like it trapped the others. They realized then the mirror was a gateway, a prison and a predator all in one. The faceless wife, whatever she was no longer confined to the locked room. She was everywhere. Her whispers filled the halls, promising comfort, safety, and reunion. But the siblings knew the truth. Her embrace meant losing themselves. Michael made a decision. "We destroy the mirror." Annie shook her head. "But if it's a gateway, destroying it might release her." Theo looked at them both. "We don't have a choice." Together, they gathered what they could find. Holy water from the attic, a kitchen knife, and a letter opener. The mirror pulsed again. Annie stepped forward, raising her knife. Before she could strike, the mirror surface rippled and a hand shot out, cold and pale. It grabbed her wrist, freezing her. The siblings screamed. Michael pulled Annie back, but the hand retracted. A voice hissed, "You cannot destroy what you do not understand." That night they sat in silence. The house felt alive, watching, waiting. Their family history unraveling into something unrecognizable. Annie looked at the photo again. The woman's face was no longer scratched out. She was smiling. But now she had their eyes. Morning light filtered weakly through dusty curtains. The Weller siblings sat around the kitchen table, exhausted but determined. Michael broke the silence. "We need answers." Annie nodded. "We have the letter, the journals, the shrine. But what is she? Why us?" Theo flipped through an old journal with trembling hands. Pages fell open to an entry dated almost a century ago. The bloodline carries the curse. Bound by a pact, made in desperation. To save one they sacrificed many, and locked her away, hoping time would heal what anger could not. Annie swallowed hard. "Who made the pact?" Michael traced the writing. "Our great-grandfather, Alistair Weller." Theo's voice dropped. "He must have trapped her. But why?" The answer was a story lost to time. A tale of love, betrayal, and a woman cast into darkness, the faceless wife. They decided to search the town archives. In the old dusty library, amidst brittle newspapers and faded photographs, they uncovered a missing woman named Eliza Weller, disappeared without a trace 100 years ago. Rumors of witchcraft, whispered by fearful neighbors. A sudden death of Alistair's wife, who vanished the same day Eliza disappeared. An old legend about a woman who could steal faces, memories, and souls. Annie closed the book. "So the curse is real. And it's tied to our family." Michael added. "And the house? It's her prison but also her weapon." Theo sai vỡ. "If she's been waiting for us all this time." The house groaned. The walls seemed to pulse. And somewhere deep inside, a soft voice called out, "Home." The sky above Marlowe's Hollow turned an unnatural gray. Storm clouds rolled in faster than anyone expected. Back at the mansion, the air was thick with tension. The siblings prepared for what felt inevitable. Michael gathered old relics found in the attic. A rusted iron key, a silver crucifix, and a tattered book bound in dark leather. Annie cleaned the dusty mirrors around the house, hoping to catch any sign of the faceless wife's presence. Theo paced nervously, clutching the letter with the ominous eye symbol. That night, the wind howled like a chorus of lost souls. The house trembled. Voices whispered from the walls. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the mirror in the foyer glowed a ghostly blue. From its depths, a shadowy figure emerged. The faceless wife. Her presence filled the room like a chilling breeze. She spoke with a voice both beautiful and terrifying. "Your memories belong to me. Your souls will follow." The siblings stood firm. Her presence filled the room like a chilling breeze. She spoke with a voice both beautiful and terrifying. "Your memories belong to me. Your souls will follow." The siblings stood firm. Michael raised the crucifix. Annie brandished the iron key. Theo opened the tattered book. The battle had begun. The tattered book revealed an ancient ritual, one that could seal the faceless wife away, but at a cost. It required a sacrifice from the bloodline. Michael read aloud. To bind the darkness, one must give what she takes. A memory, a moment, a piece of self. Forever lost to time. Annie's eyes filled with tears. We don't know what will be lost. Theo clenched his fists. We have no choice. As the faceless wife circled them, memories from their past flickered in the air. Childhood laughter, whispered secrets, moments of love and pain. One by one, they reached into the swirling mist and grasped the memories they were willing to lose. The ritual began. The mirror pulsed. The house shook. The faceless wife screamed, a sound both human and monstrous. Then silence. The mirror cracked, but did not shatter. The door to the locked room slammed shut. The air grew still. For now. But the siblings knew the battle was far from over. Because with every sacrifice, a part of themselves disappeared. And the house remembered everything. Days passed in uneasy silence. Annie found herself forgetting small things, names, places, faces. Michael lost the ability to play the piano, once his greatest joy. Theo struggled to recall the face of his first love. They realized the price of the ritual was steep. But freedom came at a higher cost. The faceless wife was sealed behind the door once more. But the key to her prison was gone. And the house had changed. The walls seemed to breathe. The windows whispered. And the locked door pulsed with a faint, eerie light. The siblings understood. The faceless wife wasn't just trapped. She was waiting. For the next time. The morning after the ritual, Michael searched everywhere for the iron key. But it was gone. Not lost, vanished. Annie tried the locked door. It was sealed tighter than before, but now an eerie hum emanated from it. Theo felt a chill run down his spine. Maybe the house took the key, he said. To keep her trapped, or to set her free. That night, strange sounds echoed through the halls. Footsteps pacing just beyond the walls, distant whispers in languages no one understood. The siblings kept watch, fearing the worst. And then a knock. From behind the locked door. The knocking grew louder. Slow. Rhythmic. Like a heartbeat. Annie approached the door, trembling. Who's there? She called softly. No answer. But the knocking stopped. Instead, a whisper filled the hallway. A voice that sounded like 1,000 voices. Pleading, mocking, crying. Open the door. Let me in. Michael gripped the handle. Never, he said. Theo shone a flashlight under the door. For a moment, the beam caught something moving. A shadow. Then nothing. The house grew colder. And the siblings wondered. Was the faceless wife still trapped? Or was she inside them now? Desperate for answers, they returned to the town's archives. Annie found an old diary belonging to their great-grandmother. It told a story of love and tragedy, and a secret pact made to protect the family from a dark curse. The faceless wife, once a woman scorned, had been bound by the bloodline to keep her rage contained. But the pact came with a price. Every generation must sacrifice a piece of their memory to keep her imprisoned. The diary ended with a chilling warning. Beware the whispers. The house remembers all. And when the last memory fades, she will walk free. The siblings stared at each other. They were the last generation. The house's final reckoning was coming. That night, the siblings couldn't sleep. Strange noises came from the attic. Soft footsteps, distant laughter, a child's cry. Determined, they climbed the narrow stairs. The attic was cluttered with old furniture and forgotten memories. Amidst the dust, Annie found a small wooden box. Inside, photographs and letters, relics from a time when the house was a home. One letter stood out. If you read this, the curse is not broken. Remember us. Remember what we lost. Fight with everything you have. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the attic. The siblings looked at each other, knowing the fight was far from over. The mirror in the foyer pulsed again. This time, the siblings could hear the call clearly. It whispered promises, reunions, peace, and love lost. Michael tried to resist, but memories flooded him. His mother's laugh, his father's touch. Annie felt the same tug. Theo, desperate, shouted, "We won't be fooled." Together, they turned away. But the mirror's pull was strong. It promised what they wanted most: freedom, family, home. But at a terrible price. Determined to end the curse, the siblings devised a plan. They would face the faceless wife inside the locked room. With the iron key missing, they prepared to force the door open. Michael's crowbar hit the wood. Crack. The door groaned. With a final push, it swung open, revealing a pitch-black room. Inside, the air was thick and heavy. From the darkness, a figure emerged, the faceless wife, faceless and terrifying. The siblings stood firm, ready to break the cycle once and for all. The room was darker than anything they had ever seen. No light, no shapes, just an abyss. Their breaths came out in white puffs, even though there was no cold air. The faceless wife stood before them, an absence of features where a face should be. Her presence was suffocating, a void that seemed to swallow hope and light. Michael raised his voice, steady but shaking. "We're here to end this." She tilted her head, as if considering. Without warning, the darkness rippled, and around her, memories began to swirl. Their childhood laughter. Their fights. Their regrets. Annie's heart clenched at the seams. Theo struggled not to cry out. The faceless wife reached out, and the memories surged toward her like a river. She absorbed them, her form shifting, gaining faint glimpses of eyes, lips, and expression. But the faces were wrong, twisted, distorted reflections of the past. Michael stepped forward, holding the crucifix. "Your power ends here." The faceless wife screamed, a sound that shattered the silence, shaking the walls. The memories she had taken erupted outward, enveloping the siblings. For a moment, everything was lost. Then light. The locked room filled with brilliant white light. The faceless wife's form shattered like glass. And silence. They collapsed to the floor, exhausted but free. Outside, the house creaked, as if exhaling. The door closed behind them. For the first time in a century, the house was still. The morning after the confrontation was eerily quiet. The Weller siblings gathered in the foyer, exhausted but alive. The oppressive weight that had haunted the house for decades was gone. Windows that once seemed to watch them now let in gentle sunlight. The air smelled fresh, like a new beginning. Michael ran his hand along the wall, half expecting the shadows to return. But they didn't. Annie smiled, tears in her eyes. "We did it. We're free." Theo nodded, but a flicker of doubt crossed his face. "What about the memories we lost? The sacrifices we made?" Michael looked at his siblings. "We can rebuild. Together." They spent the day exploring the house as if seeing it for the first time. Rooms that felt cold and empty now seemed full of promise. Annie found the photo from the attic on the mantel. The woman's face was whole, smiling warmly. A reminder that some ghosts can finally rest. But as they prepared to leave the house for the day, Theo paused. In the hallway mirror, just for a second, a shadow flickered behind them. Not the faceless wife. Something else. Something watching. The house was silent. But it was not empty. The siblings gathered their things, preparing to finally leave the mansion behind. Yet, an uneasy feeling lingered in the air, like they were not alone. Theo couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching him from the darkness. "Did you see that shadow in the mirror?" he asked Annie and Michael. They exchanged glances but said nothing. As they stepped outside, the front door creaked slightly, not from wind but from something unseen. They paused. Annie whispered, "Maybe the house is saying goodbye." Michael nodded, but Theo's mind raced. Was the curse truly broken? Or had something else awakened? That night, in the small town nearby, a flicker of light appeared in the abandoned mansion's windows. A figure stood in the darkness, watching, waiting. Not the faceless wife, but something older, something patient. The house had more stories to tell, and the Weller's journey was far from over. In the quiet darkness, a soft whisper floated on the wind. Not yet. Days turned into weeks, but the Wellers couldn't fully escape the mansion's shadow. Strange occurrences followed them. Flickering lights, fleeting shadows, whispers in the night. Annie dreamed of the locked door, the mirror, the faceless woman. Michael found his piano silent, the notes lost to an unseen force. Theo felt memories slipping like sand through his fingers. One evening, Michael received a package. Inside was an old, dust-covered book. No sender's name. The cover bore the same symbol, an eye within a keyhole. Opening it, they found a single line inscribed inside. The house never forgets. Neither do we. The siblings realized the mansion's story was only beginning. They were bound to it, and it to them. That night, beneath the pale moonlight, the house's windows gleamed. And from within, a single whisper rose. Home is never truly left behind. Driven by a restless need for closure, the Wellers returned to the mansion. This time they explored the basement more thoroughly. Behind a crumbling wall, Theo discovered a hidden door, one they'd never seen before. It was unmarked and ancient, sealed with a rusted iron lock. Michael found an old skeleton key among the relics. Could it fit? With trembling hands, Theo inserted the key and turned. The lock clicked open. Beyond was a small, dimly lit chamber. Inside lay artifacts, old portraits, a worn diary, and a locket containing a faded photo of the faceless wife, but with a face this time. Reading the diary, they uncovered the woman's story. Eliza was once kind and loving. Betrayed by those she trusted, she sought revenge. The pact was made not to imprison evil, but to contain sorrow. The house was her sanctuary, and her prison. Understanding this, the siblings felt both sorrow and resolve. The curse was not just darkness, but pain. To break it, they would need more than rituals. They needed forgiveness. The siblings gathered in the hidden chamber, holding the diary and locket. Annie spoke softly. Maybe she's trapped because no one forgave her. Michael nodded. Maybe forgiveness is the key. Theo looked at the faded photo. We have to try. That night, they performed a ritual of forgiveness. They spoke aloud, sharing memories of pain and regret, both theirs and Eliza's. They acknowledged the hurt, the betrayal, the loneliness. The house seemed to listen. The locked door trembled. The mirror in the foyer shimmered. Then, a warmth spread through the mansion. Light filled the locked room. For the first time, the faceless wife appeared. Not as a monster, but as a woman. Her face was gentle, sad and finally free. She whispered, "Thank you." And then she vanished. The house sighed, a sound of release. The Wellers knew the curse was lifted. The memories lost began to return. Hope blossomed. They stepped outside, into the morning sun. The mansion stood quiet. No longer a prison, but a home. With the curse lifted, the Weller siblings decided to restore the mansion. They repaired broken windows, polished dusty floors, and breathed life back into the old house. Neighbors noticed the change, the eerie gloom replaced by warm light and laughter. The town of Marlowe's Hollow, once wary, began to embrace the house as part of its history. Annie started a garden where the dead trees once stood. Michael found his passion for music returning, filling the halls with melodies. Theo documented their story, hoping to prevent future generations from repeating past mistakes. One evening, as the siblings gathered by the fireplace, a gentle breeze fluttered through the open window. A whisper, soft and kind, brushed past them. Home. They smiled, knowing that though the house still held memories, it was finally a place of peace.